Hey y'all, happy Virgo season transmission. It's been an interesting transition from Leo season into Virgo season. I wasn't expecting Leo season to be as heavy as it was, and it wasn't heavy in the sense of like weighed down the entire time. It was heavier in the sense of these things wanting to move, and it's coming to that point where, okay, these massive culminations were happening, but it was all happening with very nuanced things within us and this weird sort of timeline shift we've been going through. And now that we've gone through Leo season and we're transitioning into Virgo season, oddly enough, normally Virgo season feels heavier, but this Virgo season feels lighter. And I'm certainly grateful for it. A big culprit is the T-square between the moon, Jupiter, and Venus. And I don't know, it feels like this Virgo season is going to ground in a lot of changes that have been in the works. And even if we've had some doubts about, are we going to make it, are we going to get there, I think Virgo season is going to ultimately show us that it is here and that it starts to ground in and it starts to materialize and we start to see it. And it feels really good. And I think some of the challenges too with perhaps a Venus retrograde, with money delays or, transitions in our relationships, it's going to start to feel better. And I find that today does feel better than it has. It's almost like that point where things click into place has happened, and now it's clicking into place. And now Virgo season is going to be an exciting time to actually start taking steps for things we've been building up toward, where perhaps we were hard on ourselves during Leo season of not getting started or not being where we want to be. But I think Virgo season is going to show us a little bit of a diamond in the rough, if you will, of like you didn't know this was happening, but here it is, and it's really beautiful. At the same time, though, there's been a recurring message of not getting too attached to knowing how things are going to play out and how things are going to materialize, because there's a lot in the air that hasn't landed yet, even though we're going to see some manifestations come through, or we are seeing some manifestations come through. The divine has been very clear with me not to be too rigid in my definitions of what I want to create, but to have those, have the manifestation defined, have the vision in place, but at the same time take the steps with an openness and an open heart for those things to come in how they want to come in and how the divine is orchestrating them to come in. Because I found, which is a really beautiful thing, is that the divine always delivers better than we think it's going to be. And something I think these lighter energies, these forces of light that are grounding on the planet in these intense times is trying to show us is how good it can be, how good we can feel. And I think, Virgo season is going to be a very powerful time in showing us how good could be and how good it can feel. But oddly enough, it's going to come through responsibility and commitments with the Saturn opposition to the Sun. And there's going to be an air of indulgence too. So I think that's going to lighten it up and not make it as heavy as it has been. But at the same time, it's going to come through feeling good from taking responsibility and seeing things through and being committed and being devotional to those things that have been on our heart in Leo season, that have been, something we said, okay, it's time. And then, perhaps we didn't have the energy or the motivation to do it. I'm feeling that energy and motivation come in a very beautiful way. How it's played out in my experience is actually carnivore diet. I've been switching my diet a lot the last year for my hair loss and recovering my hair and healing my hair, which my guides tell me I'm going to get my hair back, but this is half the density that it used to be. And I'm hoping, and by hope I know that, my hair is going to be thicker and healthier than it's ever been. It's already healthier, but it's going to be thicker than it's ever been. And that has coincided with a lot of diet changes. And the latest one that I've been going through for the past 2.5-3 weeks is the carnivore diet. And what I've noticed with the carnivore diet and what it has taught me is that it was miserable transitioning into this diet. Not because of cravings, but because of how my body was responding to the changes of no carb and high fat, high protein, and becoming fat adapted. And it taught me to have more faith and more trust in my heart's directives that, okay, this feels like I should be alarmed, like the elevated heart rate, the heart palpitations, the terrible sleep. But my heart kept telling me to keep going. And even people in my life were being like, is that safe? Or do you think you need to dial back? And my heart's like, no, don't listen to that. Keep going. You're fine. And today is the first day on Virgo season. Happy Virgo season. That I feel amazing, and I feel what people say they feel when they get onto carnivore diet, of that beautiful, light, healthy feeling. And I know it's ultimately, because I've tried everything under the sun to get my hair back, and I know this is ultimately the last step, the final step in my hair journey, and I feel it's just around the corner. I'm going to start seeing my density come back, and new growth coming in. And that's just one glaring example of how, the past 3 weeks, which is most of Leo season, how it's really challenging. But then Virgo season hits, the sun ingresses into Virgo. And, actually Regulus is at 0 degrees of Virgo too. So the ingress since 2012 is hitting that point of leadership, that point of power and strength. This strength coming in, and this good feeling coming in of being like, oh, I was on the right track. And I did have my doubts, but my doubts didn't derail me because my heart stayed committed. And I think that's important too. It's okay to have doubts. It's okay to have fears. So long as we're not acting in that energy and we're observing that energy and staying stepped outside of that energy, it won't derail us so long as our hearts stay committed. And for me, I've noticed too, is like, if there's still fear in my system, I won't take action, even though my mind might be saying, it's time to go, it's time to go, it's time to go. Ultimately, there always comes that point, there always comes that moment in time where everything becomes very synchronistic, and the divine timing clicks into place, and it feels very natural and easy and effortless to take action on that thing that I've been worrying about taking action on for weeks on end. So I think for a lot of us, there's going to be that feeling of things clicking into place and being like, okay, I had my doubts, but now I see what all that was for. And now I actually feel amazing, or I feel better, or I feel a little bit more free. I feel a little bit more relaxed. I don't feel like I have to be so, clinged up, which is ironic. You don't expect Leo to be the more clinged up season, and Virgo to be the more relaxed season. But there's this weird flipping that's happening. And I think too, it's a big part of it is all this light and all this higher consciousness has been grounding into the planet lately. A lot of people have been waking up to illusions, not just in their own lives, but especially in the collective lives, and perhaps even agendas out in the world that we're seeing, like, oh, I thought that all of this was trustworthy, but I'm seeing now that there's a lot of hidden agendas behind, the things that are being presented to us through the media. And more people are waking up to that. More and more people are seeing it. It's getting so ridiculous that it's almost impossible to see unless you're so caught up in being seen a certain way and being perceived a certain way, or you have a lot of attachments around being a good person and what that looks like. If you start to let that go and start looking at things from a certain unbiased perspective, where you're just being like, let me go and see and find out and have curiosity, and actually be open-hearted in the information that wants to come through, and not be so shutting things down as soon as I'm uncomfortable, but actually going into that discomfort, we start to see things that are not serving us in a very clear and plain way. And I think Virgo season 2 is going to be even more so, because Virgo is the very practical, matter of fact, plain ass, explanation of this is the issue, and either, deal with it or suffer the consequences. And I think as a collective, we're also dealing with that too. It's like we either have to put our foot down and actually start taking responsibility for what we allow, and what we allow our leadership to get away with, and how we allow our leadership to treat us, and actually putting our foot down, but first and foremost admitting to ourselves how we've been complicit and how we've allowed these things to happen, and then saying no more. And it might feel a little hypocritical for some of us to change directions in such sharp ways, but I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be changing direction in very sharp ways. And I feel it in myself too, in what I've been focused on and what has been important to me, and what's been, at the top of my list of priorities has changed drastically the last 30 days, and probably for a lot of people too. So I'm excited for this Virgo season. It feels good. It feels like if you've been committed to your heart the past 30 days in Leo season, that these next 30 days are going to have some miracles and some magic in store in very profound ways. And I encourage people to really embrace that, because it's exciting, it's beautiful, it's different, and it's change, but it's not change that brings in anxiety. It's change that actually feels like it's time, and it's coming in, and it's grounding in, and it's beautiful. So I hope this message resonates. I'm sending love and wishing you well. Bye.